All hail the mighty powerhouse that is the force of nature. She is cruel as much as she is kind. Where death has claimed the mightiest, life has grown the desperate. No barriers, no limits. It is an infinite cycle that all have gowned. For this giant and mighty sauropod, their time has passed. The elements of life have taken its toll, and now they rest in peace. For the sauropod, it is a tragedy, but for the carnivorous, it becomes a miracle. A gift that they can't afford to ignore, for in this desolate wasteland, no one is neglected from nature's wrath. But the prize of meat is something that can be fiercely fought for. The stench of a decaying body is something that spreads out for a considerable distance. It is practically a dinner bell to the nostrils of other carnivores. Under normal circumstances, this large carnivore can be able to fend off these smaller predators, but as of right now, the numbers shift the dynamic. There is no definite in nature, no who would wins or who hunts who. Here it all comes down to chance. Even top predators have their moments where they need to back down. But as disappointing as it is to lose such a valuable prize, for all of their sakes, they have to keep their spirits high, for today is not even the worst day that is yet to come. Welcome to the Morrison, one of the world's most infamous fossil sites in prehistoric history, expanding its range to a whole 600,000 square miles, and only a small portion of that is uncovered in modern day. These forests have held strong for an entire 10 million years, home to some of the most iconic dinosaurs, many of which are colossal sauropods. There are so many sauropods that out of the 46 species of dinosaurs living inside the Morrison Formation, 19 of them are sauropods alone, including these chimerosauruses, one of the most common sauropods to find within the Morrison Formation. For an ecosystem to sustain so many large herbivores, there will need to be forests with rich flora stretching on for countless miles. A single Chimerosaurus alone will need to roughly eat around 100 kilograms of plants per day. Yet even after eating so much plant matter, they also work as key providers for the forest's growth. Eating large amounts of food also inevitably turn into large amounts of dung. Poop that will be used as fertilizer for the vast space of vegetation. They are the yin and yang of the Morrison's flora. Combine the residential dung collection with an enormous body of water, and the forest ecosystem will thrive with immense diversity. It's not just giant dinosaurs that live in the Morrison's forests either. It also has a fair collection of smaller dinosaurs. Drysaurus, skittish dinosaurs, no less bigger than a man. This little company of ornithopods have been attracted to the growth of ginkgo leaves, stripping the leaves bare with their beaks and then using their tiny blunt teeth to grind the plants into mush. And to help restrict the food from leaking out, they have muscles connected from their lower jaw to the upper maxilla, giving them cheeks, which also gives them a stronger grind for their chewing capabilities. For many of these individuals, they are strangers to one another. They only have come together for the mutual benefit for the ginkgos they eat. But in a formation where all the other dinosaurs have avoided predation by either being large or fighting back with dangerous weaponry, Drysaurs have neither. So they will need to rely on collaboration to increase their odds of survival. They will need all the help they can get. Marsosaurus, one of the more smaller theropods of the Morrison. She is built to hunt small prey like Drysaurus. This female in particular has been tracking the Drysaurs for some time now. But capturing one is better said than done. If she were in the thick of the forest, she would have easy coverage. But unfortunately for her, the Drysaurs are dining in an open field. Far less cover for her to hide in. It would be extremely difficult to catch them off guard. Still, nonetheless, she tries her best to get as close as she possibly can. When you have no defenses, you adapt to run. The dinosaurs have proven to be much more endured than the Mosasaurus. The theropod has lost the stamina battle, and the Drysaurus is free to run into the coverage of the forest. This is not the first time she has failed in a hunt. In fact, most hunts result in failure. She will continue to track the Drysaurs and attempt to try again. With luck, she may eventually catch one of them. But for now, the exhausted Mosasaur will need to rest. Rising temperatures and a change in the wind marks the beginning of the dry season. An exhausting period of time where the rain halts for several months and water becomes extra precious. With the rainfall becoming less frequent, growth in the Morrison's flora begins to slow down. Which means there is less food to share for the Morrison's ecosystem of giant sauropods. These Diplodocus can sense the change in the seasons, so to support a herd where each member is roughly 25 to 30 meters in length, they are migrating south where the rains are heading. There are many members in the great herd. The herd stretches out for miles. It could probably take a full day just to reach the front and back of the herd. By the end of the week, Morrison may not see another sauropod for a very, very long time. But while some animals migrate away from the incoming dry season, others choose to tough it out. Dinosaurs, like this female Allosaurus, prefer a more territorial route rather than migration, hunkering down in a claimed territory and fighting off those that intrude. On paper, this sounds like a bad idea. With the loss of the sauropods, it may seem like a dire drop in the quantity of what they can hunt. But there is still plenty of prey that will stay put to withstand the Morrison's pressure. Drysaurs, stegosaurs, and even smaller predators will opt to take the risk. And even if the sauropods did stay around, hunting one is not such an easy feat. Even for the top predator, the sauropods have the weight advantage. It's only natural for the largest groups of animals to have ever walked the earth. And not only that, but for the diplodocids, they have a secret weapon that is only used as a last resort. Their tails are exceptionally long, flexible, but incredibly flimsy. Getting struck by it would be like getting attacked by a whip. But it's a delicate defense mechanism that may harm the diplodocus in return. Doing so may result in breaking the miniature caudal vertebrae within the tail. But as long as the Allosaur keeps itself a good distance from the diplodocids, neither parties will risk injuries. This old female has years of hunting wisdom, and she knows her limits, and as of right now, she is not hungry. Just taking the moment to watch the sights of the last sauropods you will see for the next few months. Darkness seeps through the Morrisons forests. For the diplodocus, tripping over a stray log, rock, or bush in the way would cause their enormous bodies to crush themselves, which would lead to catastrophic damage. Continuing their journey at this point in time would be a perilous risk, so they waste their time by sleeping. It would give them the needed energy to push through their long distance departure when daytime returns. But while most of the Morrison's creatures spend this time sleeping, for others, they awaken to a whole new world. Gargoyleosaurus, one of the earliest known ankylosaurs. By this point in time, these groups of dinosaurs are exceptionally rare. They only just started to evolve a few million years earlier, and not many of them exist yet. But as time pushes forward and the Cretaceous period rolls over, these animals will dramatically diversify. The secret to their success is immediately obvious. Bony osteoderms infused with the skin, which creates natural body armor. Predators can't break through their barriers, not even Allosaurus. However, not everywhere is fully padded with bony armor. The back may be protected, but the underside of its belly is exposed. Perfect access to a good meaty meal to those that are lucky to reach it. But it takes a lot of luck and effort to reach this exposed zone, which is why most predators won't even try and hunt this dinosaur. Most, except for the miniature, that is. Still, stagnant, undisturbed water is the perfect breeding ground for mosquitoes. These tiny nuisances easily latch on to the Gargoyleosaur's underbelly, and they squeeze through the small cracks of the body armor, allowing them to siphon blood from the Gargoyleosaur. It is uncomfortable, itchy, and incredibly irritating. Especially when you don't have the arms to swipe away from them and scratch the itch. But he is not entirely defenseless to being mosquito food. He has a secret weapon that will repel the mosquitoes away. Mud. Nothing like a good bath to ease away all the irritations. Covering its skin with mud creates a barrier that blood-sucking insects can't penetrate through. And additionally, it also helps cool down the ankylosaur's body temperature, temporarily making it invisible to the insect's infrared eyes. He even has garnered attention to some messieurs. These ornitholestes will help get rid of these pettiest parasites. They are cat-sized theropods, with teeth only the size of your fingertips. They live their lives in the coverage and safety of the more forested areas, hunting small prey like lizards, bugs, birds, and mammals. And the Gargoyleosaurus recognizes the potential help that they can give him, using their tiny frame to squeeze through the cracks and eat any stubborn mosquitoes that are still latched on after the mud bath. The ankylosaur gives them permission to feed. It is a camaraderie that benefits them both. The Gargoyleosaurus loses its parasites, and the Ornitholestes gets a good night dinner, as well as an armored bodyguard that will provide protection from other predators that prey on them. Win-win for the both of them. Mosquitoes aren't the only insects thriving outside tonight. The glow of the moonlight has awoken nocturnal moths, sent to flying mates. The females release an odor that only the males can detect, capturing their scent with their antennas, which can be smelled through the whole forest. However, the moths are not the only nocturnal creature of the night. They're not bats. They don't appear until another 185 million years. And although they may look like mystical garden goblins in fairy tales, these bizarre animals are actually a unique breed of pterosaur, flying reptiles that dominated the Mesozoic sky. These small hand-sized critters are Mesodactylus, belonging to a group of pterosaurs called the Anurignafids. Their large gremlin-looking eyes give them remarkable vision in the dark. With the guidance of the moon, they are able to home in and pick off the moths with ease. And as soon as daylight inevitably returns, they keep themselves dormant to their nesting grounds, hiding anywhere that is too high to be reached, where they will spend the rest of the day sleeping until the night returns. One month into the drought, and already the warming temperatures are taking effect to the surrounding environment. The Morrison has not had a single drop in rainfall. For now, the lake carrying gallons upon gallons of water acts as emergency generators for the forest's hydration. And as long as there are still dinosaurs living in these forests, the flora still has an active supply of fertilizer to keep them healthy. The sauropods may have disappeared, but herbivores like dinosaurs can help fertilize and even seed the forest plants through their droppings, even if they're not as large. And even the carnivores have a role in keeping the forest as healthy as they can. Carnivores keep the population of herbivores in check. Without them, the forest plant life would be depleted very quickly, and then there wouldn't be anything to eat for the herbivores. And now in this moment in time, with the plants beginning to shrivel up and die from the drought heat, it is more important than ever for the carnivores to keep the ecosystem under control. But as of right now, these ceratosauruses are not in desperate need to go hunting. They are a unique type of theropod, with the males displaying a colorful adorned crest on their head, which could only be used as a sense of attraction for the females. But for this female, she is not impressed. For now, she barely tolerates the male's company, for in this world, a hunting partner may help benefit both of their survival. Especially when there are larger predators like Allosaurus that could easily bully them away from a kill. But that's not to say that they are totally defenseless. Although Ceratosauruses are smaller in size, they can still pack a powerful bite. And if they were to group up, they could turn the tables on an outnumbered Allosaurus. They are the hyenas of the Morrison formation, and the Allosaurs are the lions, a rivalry amongst predators. But there's one prey animal that both predators rarely dare hunt due to how incredibly risky they are. Stegosaurus. This female resides in this territory and feeds on the copious amounts of fibrous plants that grow near the lake's edge. But just because they're vegetarian doesn't mean that they're friendly. A horizontally flexible tail equipped with 4 razor-sharp vagomizers make for lethal weaponry. Its brain may not be particularly large compared to the rest of her massive 9-meter body, but it would be a fatal mistake to assume that they were dumb, slumbering animals. They are aware that they're potential prey, and that makes them paranoid. They're extremely alert, and they take no chances. They'll be aggressive to anything that gets too close. They'll even attack other herbivores if they stray too close to her personal space. A male, twice as heavy as the female, lets out a set of low rumbling calls, letting her know of his presence to avoid surprising the female into a confrontation. The female is receptive, but keeps herself safe distance, eyeing up and down the male, but not because she's wary of him, but because she is testing if he's worthy to mate. Already, he is proving some good promise to his capabilities. He is larger than her, so clearly he is eating well. His legs have strong posture, his blades promise good weaponry, and his tail is flexible enough to reach his sides. But the female is not yet impressed. It is time for the male to unveil his secret rose. Covering the backside of Stegosaurus is a set row of bizarre diamond-shaped plates. These plates hold an entire network of blood vessels that connect from the heart. A layer of leathery skin covers the plates and blood is pumped to the surface, which gives these ornaments a beautiful orange color. Such a pretty display of color woos the female. She has decided that maybe the male is worth her time after all. But someone else disagrees. A rival bachelor challenges for the rose. But this rose has thorns on it. The original male now refurbishes his colorful plates, which was once used as a romantic gesture, is now used as a warning, demanding the other male to back off. Most conflicts between stegosaurs are brief, sizing up their opponents in an attempt to intimidate the other. But when neither of them remains unnerved, then they will have to drive them away by force. They fight by stabbing each other. Their thick hide can help negate some of the damage, but these tail spikes are a full meter long, and some stegosaurs may grow as long as 4 meters. All it takes is for one to hit a vital organ, and it will be catastrophic. Too many cuts from both fighters, and they may end up bleeding to death through exhaustion. This is an extremely risky battle. The younger opposer finally yields, leaving with heavy battle scars to remind him who's boss around this territory. The older, larger male had more thick skin to endure the penetration, and his phagomisers were long enough to cause more serious scarring. With the battle won, he can return back to romance. As for the other male, if he rests and cleans his wounds, he may heal and survive long enough to try again. But with wounds clear as day, he must be careful now. Wounded animals are good targets for hungry predators. "4 months into a long, dry drought. The longer the forest lasts without water, the more the plants shrivel up and die, piling up on top of each other into a graveyard of decaying flora. Detrivores like beetles, snails, and fungi help feed on dead matter. They help remove some of the plant litter, but with so much dry plants lying around, all it takes is for a single spark to start a catastrophic forest fire. Hours later, and the fire eventually smolders out. A large chunk of the forest is nothing more than ash and charcoal. But that doesn't necessarily mean that all is completely doom and gloom. For an ecosystem like this, fire is a necessary repellent. Now that all that built up plant decay is reduced to ash, it now leaves a whole new fresh plot of land for new plants to grow. Some plants even need fire to help germinate and plant their seeds, and as soon as the rain returns, no matter how long it may be, the forest will regrow. For the female Allosaurus, she has successfully avoided the flames. And she is not alone. Some point in time during the past 4 months, she had encountered a male Allosaur. This male was successful enough to charm her. Now they stick together as a mutual pair, potentially for life, where they will hunt, sleep, and breed together. Someday the female will lay herself a clutch of eggs, and her mate will help father the offspring. But in this shrinking biosphere, tensions are constantly on the rise. The forest fire and the shrinkage of the Great Lake has drawn out other predators from their territories. It is now a common sight to see dinosaurs battle for territory. One of which is this 13-meter bull Allosaurus. He is the largest Allosaur to come here yet. In the past, he was once thought to be a different species. Now we know that in truth, he's just an exceptionally large Allosaurus. In life, he was once known as Saurophaganax, the Lord of the Lizard Eaters. Very few dare to challenge his rueful territory. But brute as he might be, he is not the largest dinosaur around here. Brachiosaurus. 25 meters long, 13 meters tall, and weighing just over 60 tons. There are barely any predators that would dare deter these colossal giants. This enormous male is attracted by the thirst of water. The fire has cleared an open path, giving way to a convenient shortcut to the water's edge. Normally they would stay around and feed, but with their food reduced to ashes, they have nothing worth staying here. After he hydrates himself, he will venture forth to wherever food has grown. This may be the last time in a very long time that anyone around here will ever see a brachiosaur ever again. Nine whole months since the drought has started. Normally the dry season was supposed to end and transition into the wet season 3 months ago, but the temperatures still hold high and the only storms that form in the clouds are dry lightning storms, causing more frequent bushfires and less viable territory to roam around. And for every less space comes more confrontations. Huge gatherings of multiple Allosaurus have clumped them all together. Normally they would try to drive each other away from competition by sizing each other up, but today marks a rare exception. Allosaurus are sauropod hunters. Apatosaurus. Their migratory instincts tell them to return to their feeding grounds, but with the forests drying away from the drought, their long exhausting journey is longer than anticipated. It takes a lot of energy to move such an enormous body. Spending a full day or more without feeding can make them very malnourished, dehydrated, and exhausted. The perfect conditions for an Allosaurus to initiate a hunt. Alone, they cannot hope to take on such an enormous animal. Their 30-ton bodies would stamp out the Allosaurus with little effort at all. Even attacking from behind would make them in the path of the Apatosaurus's muscular tail. If the Allosaurus wish to feed on an Apatosaur, they need to work together as a mob. They only need to pick out one target, whoever is the weakest link. Then isolate them away from the herd and exhaust them to death. Succeed, and they will garnish a great deal of meat that may last them for months. All it takes is for one to rush in and the mobbing begins. Panic flares for the herd, and the mob moves to isolate their targets. Abandoned by the herd, the Apatosaurus has no choice but to face the Allosaurus. The Allosaurus keep their distance from the giant. One of them has already landed a gashing blow to the leg. Thick neck muscles give Allosaurus force to plunge their jaws like a hatchet cutting meat. With so many members in a mob, individuals that are not being paid attention to might occasionally risk taking a bite. But it is extremely high risk with potentially fatal consequences. The experienced hunters know to bide their time. Hunting giant sauropods is a waiting game. With an open bleeding wound, dehydration, malnutrition, and overall exhaustion, the Apatosaur will eventually fall. After hours of endurance, the Apatosaurus finally passes away, leaving the Allosaurus to eat at last. As soon as the body has fallen, the pecking order in the mob returns to normal. The oldest and largest of the Allosaurs take the first bites, while the smaller ones, like the female and her mate, have to wait their turn, unless they wish to take the full force of the elders. Naturally, the impatient ones fight for their portion of the carcass. This allows an open window for the smaller members to sneakily steal their own scraps. For now, the body belongs to the bull Allosaurus. Many will come and challenge him, but in due time, everyone will have their own share of meat. After all, the body of the Apatosaurus may not completely decompose for several long months. It has now been close to 2 whole years since the drought has begun, and the Morrison's ecosystem has truly fallen in on itself. All herbivores that used to live here are now either dead or migrated to healthier grounds. Now all that's left here in the Morrison are the carnivores. Disease is running riot from all the corpses and feces infected the water. Whatever is left of the lake is filled with filthy bacteria. Anything that drinks from it will become deathly ill. This Ceratosaurus, though, has managed to find some kind of medicine to help grapple with the disease's symptoms. Clay. On paper, eating dirt from the ground may seem unappetizing, but eating clay actually majorly helps the Ceratosaurus. It is a process called geophagy. And by eating the clay from the ground, the minerals within the clay eliminate any harmful bacteria and parasites growing within the gut. These trying times may be more rough than ever. This male may have an uncomfortably nauseating stomachache for a few hours, but he will live to see another day. the bull Allosaurus has been on his trail. This isn't a battle for territory. He is intending to hunt the Ceratosaurus. With herbivores off the menu, other carnivores become prey. But he has lost the elements of surprise. Ambush is no longer an option. The Allosaurus is much more larger than him and can easily overpower the smaller theropod, but the Ceratosaurus is violently defensive, fighting back with ravaging bear-like bites, aiming to mangle the face where the worst damage can get. Bloodshed is unavoidable for either parties. A lucky slip. The Ceratosaurus has an opening and took the chance to run. There was no lie to tell that he really will live to see another day. Battered and scarred, the Allosaurus will need to rest and try again later. Not all Ceratosauruses will be so lucky next time. Four years. 4 years of drought, 4 years of hardship, 4 years of a slow ecological collapse. Marsosaurus, Ornitholestes, Ceratosaurus, all of these theropods are either dead or have taken their chances to migrate far away to lusher grounds. Now the only animals that you would find are Allosauruses. It has all devolved into an ecosystem of cannibals. The mighty bull has finally fallen victim to the drought's harsh conditions. Now he rests in peace and is just food for the lucky survivors. Larger Allosaurs have been drawn out to hunt the smaller, younger Allosaurs. In this world, you would be very lucky to reach adulthood, which is why this territory is no longer compatible to be a mother. Despite the odds, the female and her mate have still managed to survive. Now the female is pregnant and ready to lay her own clutch of eggs. But with others of her kind sprawling about, ready to strike her young at a moment's notice, this place is not safe. She can't even trust her own mate. For the sake of her offspring, it is time for her to give up the territory that she fought so hard for and leave the Morrison. Pray that she finds healthier grounds sooner rather than later. At long last, after 4.5 years of drought, finally the rains return. And with it, the forest regrows. gone is the arid, dying badlands, and restored is the lush green woodlands. All those seeds that remained gardened under the soil has finally exploded into life with the touch of water. Miracle timing for the female. Now her young has better odds of making it into adulthood than they did before. With the flora regrowing, the herbivores follow soon after. The brachiosaurs have returned. And it won't be long until all the other sauropods and every other herbivore that lived before them flocks back into the Morrison. With them comes the smaller theropods, and before you know it, the Morrison formation will return to the way it used to be so long ago. Like as if nothing else has ever happened here. In between it all is their toughest survivors. Despite the doomsday odds, life finds a way. The female Allosaurus has managed to toughen the odds and has survived the worst. Only she and a few others will remember the 4.5-year drought. And now she will mother the next residents of the Great Morrison Formation, where they will live alongside giants in one of the greatest geological time periods ever known in the Mesozoic World.